Sky Squad, we are back in the building, and we got a follow up from yesterday's story about Laura Govan and her interview with Carlos King, basically spilling the tea that she beat the brakes off of Draya. I think at one point she said something to the effect of, let me put the alleged badge up here because we weren't there. But I think she said something to the effect of she picked her up by her punani nani and her collarbone and tossed her about. She said something to that effect. Okay. Now, you know, I was on the lookout yesterday to see whether or not, Evelyn or anybody was going, clap back at her or not, right? So the person that actually did clap back was Draya, who, of course, it was claimed that she had been picked up by the punani and thrown about. Okay, so here is what Draya had to say in response to that, and we're gonna take things over to our friends over at It's On Site. It's underscore on site on Instagram to kind of give you a visual display. But first, I just want to walk you back through, for those of you guys who may not have seen yesterday's video, to the headline that was really making its rounds on the interwebs, okay? Basically, again, Laura Govan says she told Draya Michelle up after learning she slept with Gilbert Arenas while they were taping Basketball Wives together. It took 4 grown men to get me off of her. To add to the told her up part, it was also alleged that she indeed did spit on Draya as well during said altercation. So let's get into the business of what exactly, Draya had to say about said situation, because I think that's important to really dive into. Because if you have somebody who is making claims about you, I am assuming that at a certain point you are going to want to clap back, and it feels to me like Draya said, this is the day that the Lord hath made. Okay, so Draya is saying, I don't bother nobody. Why does nobody bother me? Now, if you really look at that, okay, she says, read it again. All right. So look at it. I don't bother nobody. So why does nobody bother me? That could be read in a lot of different ways. Okay. So she then posts the Chloe side eye face. Then she says, first, I'm not the type of person to clear ish up, but enough is enough. I've been cyberbullied and podcast bullied for almost 12 months straight by both men and women and have stayed quiet. Now, a lot of the reasons why people have been saying a lot of things about her is because she is, a bit older than the player that she is, has a baby by at this point, right? She had the baby, right? I assume she had the baby. Um, and so people had a lot to say about, whether or not, he should have been with her or not, or she should have been with him because of the age difference. And a lot of people felt like she was gold digging, because of that. So a lot of people have been saying a lot of things about her over the past 12 months. She then goes on to say, I don't care about likes, comments, or going viral. But if I'm going to trend, I'm going to trend today and all effing day. Okay. She says, I didn't mess with anyone's husband. Let's be clear that no one was married. Let's dive into that. In the interview, Laura did tell us that she and Gilbert were not in fact married, that they were more of a common law situation. She clears that up in the interview. So if we're going by technicalities, then yes, what Draya is saying sounds like it is true. She then goes on to say, let's also be clear that the interactions I had with him were years before I was on the show. So is this a case of, I don't know, Evelyn and Tammy wherein Evelyn had maybe messed around with Tammy's ex, but as Evelyn stated, nobody knew about Tammy. And was maybe that the expectation that Draya was supposed to tell her? Well, let's get further into this because I think some of those questions may be answered. She says, let's also be clear that the interactions I had with him were years before I was on the show. I did not know her then. And I also did not know her when I agreed to be on the show or her sister. I didn't even know either of them were going to be on the show. So to say the word friend is a huge stretch. Now, people, when they use this word friend, it is kind of interesting in the respect of Laura says she felt like they were building a friendship. So I'm just kind of trying to read into the nuances of the situation because some of this could be about perspective, and I just don't know on whose perspective we should be focusing more on. But we'll focus more on Draya's perspective for now because we've already heard Laura's. Now, Draya then goes on to say, I agreed to go on the show and pretend to be friends with a girl named Gloria. It's so crazy to me. Like, we always kind of figure, certain things on the shows are not real. But, the evidence continues to mount, specifically when somebody is introduced to the group. It always kind of feels like we have to look at it with a side eye now, like, y'all ain't really friends. Portia and Fallon, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was another situation where it sounds like, oh, Portia was picked to introduce someone. I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to me. So she goes on to state this. I agreed to go on the show and pretend to be friends with a girl named Gloria, who I did not know was sisters with her. And at the time, even if they would have said her sister, I still wouldn't have known because I didn't know her. She then goes on to say, I don't come to social media and bash people. I didn't always have the conscience that I have today. With that being said, I will keep most of what I'm saying polite. To be honest, during my time on the show, it was the highest ratings that it had ever received. Many of y'all won't admit it, but I've brought comic relief and a breath of fresh air, and most importantly, relatability to the normal girl who watched the show. I am going to 100% agree that the combination to me of Draya and Jackie really brought the comedy to that show. And I'm going to actually go a step further and say mainly Draya at the time, because I don't think we realized the comedy that was Jackie Christie at that time. And I think that Draya did have that comic relief in her confessionals, in her reactions. It was just, she just had that it factor. And that's just the truth of the matter. You can see it that even in the comments, some people are agreeing with her. So one person says she's not lying about the filming because Sunday and Jackie tried to play with her and Omari, and she literally was their punching bag like Royce was. None of them liked her, and they did everything to make her look like a lowlife. Another person says, yeah, it came to a point where Draya was the show. They can't deny that. Another person says, Draya done grew them coattails over the years, and they all want to ride now. She's not lying. Another person says they all them girls hated Draya and has had to come back on the show at least one season. Draya left and never came back. So then she says, all of my dirty laundry was aired on the show. And when I say all, I mean all. I have been called some of the worst things on national TV. She then goes on to say, I'm almost at the end, but I will say my storyline carried the show. Carried. Had there been something involving me, trust and believe it would have been put out there / aired for further enjoyment of people that watch trash TV. Baby, is that what we watching nowadays? Do we consider reality TV trash TV? That's ooh. I mean, it's kind of like that was a uh, the TV shows then took some shots in this one, okay? Um, and when she says she carried the show, I want to know what you guys think. Did Drea carry the show back then? I'm gonna say again that Drea brought something extra special to the show that it was lacking once she left. I will say that. Um, so much so that they even had to bring in a heavy hitter like Tammy and Shawnee to kind of fill in the gap from where Drea left, if you guys don't remember. So that's just kind of putting that out there. She then goes on to say, again, I don't get on this internet and bash anybody. I certainly don't blame the woman in any situation where I am owed some sort of respect from my man. I don't get on this internet and tell my side of the story often because I respect the fact that it's not only my side. I give a lot of people grace by being quiet and not sharing. She then goes on to say, timelines aren't timelining, and I'm sorry to people that can't understand that. I hope you read this in a tone that is of a strong woman once again coming to the internet defending herself. And I am not a victim. I'm never a victim. I am a victor. Now, if you will excuse me, I will get back to my very normal, non-reality TV related, multifaceted life. Thank you. Okay. The end. So that is what Drea has to say about this. I'm interested to know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with Drea? Do you think that she carried the show? And do you think that because in what we're hearing here, it sounds like to Drea, the stuff that happened with her and Gilbert happened before she was actually ever even on the show. Now, the question could be asked, did she owe it to Laura to tell her? That's up for debate, especially if Laura felt like they were becoming friends. Maybe Drea didn't see it that way. Or maybe she felt like there's no need to go back there because it was in the past. Then the same thing could be also asked of Laura because in Shawnee's book, it sounded like she wanted to also go and beat some tail. So would Shawnee have been wrong if she and her mama had gone and beat some tail too, as Laura did? I don't know. I don't know because the idea at the time was that it was Laura who did the thing with Shaq allegedly, but now we're hearing that it was Gloria and that Laura was covering up for Gloria. But then we also that's the allegation. Then we also need to know what happened between Laura and Gloria. There was a lot of people in the chat saying, "Oh, it was maybe Gloria that allegedly did something with," and I don't know that. So it's just so much to that I feel like we're in the dark about. That I feel like if people are gonna start like if you're gonna tell us the stories, tell us the whole story. Like, don't give us these bits and pieces and make it so cryptic. Because now we want to know because you didn't talk about it on a podcast. So anyway, just interesting questions. You know, another interesting week in the world of reality TV as we await the return of Bell Collective, Love and Marriage Huntsville, Beverly Hills, Married to Medicine. So much is popping off in this month that it is going to be crazy. And do you know why typically November is a big month for TV? It's usually because in the past they were called the sweep. November was like sweeps month, right? It's a big month for television and advertisers. So I think maybe they're falling back into that routine. I really don't know, but I'm happy that we're going to be having a lot of shows back. Let me know what you guys thought about this in the comment section down below. I'm ready for the next season of Basketball Wives to start filming and airing. I'm assuming we probably won't get that till like March or April at this point, but I'm excited to see what happens and if Laura will indeed be back. Because we know one thing is for certain, Drea won't. With that being said, we will catch you guys in the next video.